The Constitution of India, Preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution.
Hello children, how do you do? Hope you are healthy and happy. So I am here again for beginning the next session related to chapter 11, Plan, Growth and Development. I think you would have understood the part 1 of this chapter. My dear children, in the next part we are going to learn about plan, growth, regulators, and in the case of plan growth regulators, which is also known as PGRS. So first we are going to understand the history of growth regulators. Hormone. Hormone is a Greek word derived from hormo, which means stimulate, isn't it? Thiamen in 1948 was coined the term phytohormone as organic substance that produce naturally in plants. So Thiamen is the person who has coined the term phytohormone, and this phytohormone is an organic substance which are produced in the plant naturally. Growth hormone defined as the substances which are synthesized in particular cells and are transferred to the cells wherein extremely small quantities influence the developmental process of the plant. It is been said by Philip in 1971. So what is growth hormone? Growth hormone we can define as the substances which are synthesized in a particular cell in the plant and they are transferred from those particular cell to the target cell where these hormones are needed, and they are needed in very small quantities, and these growth hormones surely influences the development process taking place in the plant. The first hormone was discovered was auxin. It was the first hormone to be discovered in plant and at one time considered to be the only naturally occurring plant growth hormone. That is been discovered by Charles Darwin in 1880. So Charles Darwin in 1880 discovered auxin, which is the first growth hormone in the case of plant. Three types of plant hormones, that is auxins, gibberellin and cytokinin. These were discovered in the early decades of 20th century in 1930s and in 1960s respectively. That is Thomas 1956. So after auxin, gibberellin and cytokinin was discovered, and these were also known as plant growth regulators. Now we can see here plant growth regulators are of two types, natural as well as synthetic. In the case of natural, again we can see two types again, plant growth promoters and plant growth inhibitors. Plant growth promoters are auxin, gibberellin and cytokinin, and growth inhibitors are ethylene and abscisic acid. And synthetically these plant growth regulators can be synthesized, and they are NAA, that is naphthalene acetic acid, 2,4-D and 2,4,5-T. These are certain examples of synthetic plant growth regulators. Now, discovery of auxin. The idea of extension of auxin was proposed by Charles Darwin in 1880 in his book The Power of Movements in Plant. The coleoptiles of canary grass to unilateral light and observed it to bend towards the light. What happened? Charles Darwin conducted an experiment on the coleoptile of canary grass, and he observed this grass, its tip is been bending towards the light. He covered the coleoptile tip with the thin foil or cut it off and observed that coleoptile did not bend towards the unilateral light. Later on, what he has done, he covered this coleoptile tip with the foil, or he cut the tip of the coleoptile, and he observed that the coleoptile did not bend towards the unilateral light. So, the conclusion was some stimulus is transmitted from upper to the lower part which induce bending of the coleoptile. So, the conclusion was there was a stimulus, or there is a stimulus present on the upper part of the plant or the grass, from where it is moving to the lower part, and because of that the bending is taking place. That was the conclusion given by Charles Darwin based on the experiment conducted on coleoptile of canary grass for discovering the plant growth regulator auxin. You can see here, this was the experiment conducted by Charles Darwin, where source of auxin is present there, being lastly it been discovered. There you can see the bending of the tip is been taking place here. Same way you can see here. So, this is what the experiment used to demonstrate, that the tip of the coleoptile is the source of auxin, and the arrows is indicating the direction of light, isn't it? So, the tip, it consists of auxin, which is helping for the bending of the tip of the coleoptile in the canary grass. Now, we can see the types of auxin, natural auxin as well as synthetic auxin. Natural auxin occurring in plants are called natural auxin. They are indole acetic acid, indole propanoic acid, indole butyric acid and phenyl acetic acid. In the case of synthetic, these are synthesized artificially and have the properties like auxin. 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid, which is known as 2,4-D. 2,4,5-trichlorophenoxyacetic acid is known as 2,4,5-T, and naphthalene acetic acid is NaA. These are the synthetic auxin. My dear children, these two are very, very important. You have to study. This is the classification of auxin. Now, we can see the functions of auxin. It helps in growth promoting, it is a growth promoting chemical. It promotes cell division and cell enlargement or elongation. Primary plant auxin is indole acetic acid. The common synthetic form of auxin are indole butyric acid as well as naphthalene acetic acid, that is NaA. It is useful in phototropism, geotropism, apical dominance as well as root formation. That is, the terminal bud it will be allowing to grow, and the lateral bud or the lateral bud which is formed there will be blocked there by the auxin. It is helping in phototropism, geotropism and as well as in the root formation. What is phototropism? Plant growth towards the light source. Geotropism, plant growth in response to the gravitational force. And what is apical dominance? Terminal bud prevents the development of the lateral bud on the plant stem. Apical dominance is very, very important, my dear children, in relation to the auxin. I think you would have understood about it. Now, next one is gibberellin. It is discovered by Kurosawa, in Japanese plant pathologist in 1928. The rice plant, they were infected by the fungus Gibberella fujikuri, and here it is which is shown excessive stem elongation, and the symptoms which is being taken place in this plant is called Bacon disease. The disease which is taking place in the rice plant because of the infection of this fungus, that disease is called Bacon disease, and From it, a chemical was extracted and purified, and the name was given as gibberellic acid, that is Ga. Now 80 different gibberellins are available, that is GA1 to GA80. The most commonly occurring gibberellin is GA3. So, this is the discovery related to gibberellin. We can see the functions of gibberellin. Active gibberellin show many physiological effects, each depending on the type of gibberellin present as well as the species of plants. Some of the physiological processes stimulated by gibberellin are outlined below. Number 1, stimulate stem elongation by stimulating cell division and elongation. So, gibberellin is helping to stimulate the stem, which will be elongating, and how it is been elongating? When the cell division and cell elongation is taking place. Number 2, it is helping or it is promoting bolting or flowering in response to long days plants. Bolting means the internode will be extended there if gibberellin is being sprayed to the plant. In the case of cabbage, we can see they are having short internode, but when the gibberellin is sprayed to this kind of internode, the internode will be elongated there, and that process is called bolting. Now, breaks seed dormancy in some plants which requires stratification or light to induce germination. So, it is helping in breaking the seed dormancy, and it is stimulating the enzyme production in germinating cereal grains and mobilization of seed reserves. It is inducing maleness and dioecious flower, that is sex expression, that is it is helping in expressing the male sex in the case of dioecious flowers, and it can cause parthenocarpic fruit development, that means seedless fruit can be produced with the help of gibberellin, and can delay senescence in leaves and citrus fruits. In the case of citrus fruits, that is in orange or in the case of lemon, the delay of the age can be done by using gibberellin. I think you would have understood about the function of gibberellin, it is again important. Now, next one is cytokinin. The discovery of cytokinin is being done in 1950s by Folkscoog and Carlos Miller, and when the discovery is done, it has been said that when they were studying the influence of auxin on the growth of tobacco in tissue culture, that time they understood about there is another hormone present, and in this manner they discovered the cytokinin. I think you would have understood about it, and in 1964 the first naturally occurring cytokinin was isolated from cone called zeatin. So, the first naturally occurring cytokinin was the zeatin, which is being obtained from the corn, and it is also found in coconut milk. So, all cytokinin, may be artificial or natural, are chemically similar to adenine. Adenine, cytokinin are chemically similar to adenine. So, the first naturally occurring cytokinin was zeatin. I think you would have understood about the discovery of cytokinin. We can see the functions of cytokinin. Here we can see it stimulates cell division, stimulate morphogenesis, that is shoot initiation or bud formation, and it stimulates the growth of lateral bud by the release of apical dominance. So, here what is happening? Cytokinin is doing the action opposite to auxin. They are anti to each other in the lateral apical dominance. That is, in case of auxin is promoting apical dominance, and in the case of cytokinin it is inhibiting apical dominance. Next, it stimulates leaf expansion resulting from cell enlargement, and it can slow down the aging of some plant organ and slow deterioration of leaves on intact plant. So, these are certain functions related to the cytokinin, which is again the plant growth regulator, Now we are going to understand about ethylene. Here the discovery of ethylene is being said that it was used by ancient Egyptian to cause fig ripening, and the Chinese burned incense in closed room to cause pear ripening. Discovered in 1901 by Dmitry Neljubov, and in 1910 H. Cousins showed that plants can produce their own ethylene. So, the discovery of ethylene's role in abscission was in 1917 by S. Dowd, and in 1934 ethylene was shown as a natural plant product. So, in this manner the discovery of ethylene took place by different scientists when they were conducting experiments on different plants, and like this the ethylene was discovered. Now, the functions of ethylene is being said as it is seen as gaseous in form and it is rapidly diffusing. Gas produced by one plant will affect nearby plants. It is helping to fruit ripening. It is helping in epinastic movement, that is downward curvature of leaf, and it encourages senescence and abscission. Initiation of stem elongation and bud development, that is the stem which is been elongating there and bud formation is taking place there, or the bud which is being formed there, later on its development is taking place, that is been happening because of ethylene. It is helping in flowering. That is how it is helping in flowering. Ethylene inhibits flowering in most species. It is blocking the flowering in most species, but promotes it in a few plants such as pineapple as well as mango, etc. In most of the species ethylene will be blocking the flowering, but in certain species such as pineapple and mango it is promoting the flowering. Now, it is helping in sex expression, that is cucumber buds treated with ethylene becomes carpellate flower, and whereas those treated with gibberellin becomes staminate flower. So, in the case of sex expression, when cucumber bud is being treated with ethylene, it will be showing the growth of female flower, and the cucumber bud, if they are treated with gibberellin, it will be becoming the staminate or male flower. Now, next one, it enhances the respiration rate during ripening of fruits. When the fruits are ripened, the respiration rate will be increased there, and this rise in the rate of respiration is called respiratory climatic. It promotes rapid internode and petiole elongation in deep water rice plants. So, in deep water rice plants, it is helping to increase the internode as well as petiole elongation. I think you would have understood about the common function of ethylene. Now, there is another form of ethylene, that is called ethyphone, and it is an aqueous solution. Ethylene is a gaseous form and ethyphone is the liquid form. It is rapidly absorbed and transported within the plants. It speeds up fruit ripening in tomatoes and apple. It accelerates abscission in flowers and fruits such as cotton, cherry, walnut, etc. So, that is related to the function of ethyphone. Again, it is important, my dear children. Now, next, plant growth regulator, or it is the growth inhibitor, and it is abscisic acid. We can see the discovery is been done by P.F. Waring and associates in 1963, and it is isolated from isolated a dormancy inducing substance from the leaves of Acer pseudo plant, which is, and that is called dormin. And in the same way it is been isolated there by certain other scientists in 1963, and the substance which was isolated is abscissine. And next one, in 1966 again it is been isolated, or it is been said that both dormine and abscissine, they are chemically similar compound, and therefore it was named as abscisic acid. So first dormine was isolated, number second abscissine was isolated, and later on it was concluded that dormine and abscissine both are the similar form and they are chemically same compound, therefore the name given as abscisic acid. Next, the distribution, it has been distributed in stems, leaves, buds, fruits and seeds, and it has been transported to stem apices. And the role of abscisic acid is bud dormancy, cold hardness, seed germination, fruit development, senescence and abscission and flowering and sex expression. So these are certain function of abscisic acid. Bud dormancy, that is in the case of plant, the bud will be undergoing dormant condition if abscisic acid is present there. Seed germination understood, fruit development, senescence and abscission, flowering and sex expression is also been taking place with the help of abscisic acid. So these are the functions or role of abscisic acid. Now we are into the next topic, that is photoperiodism. The photoperiodism means the response of plants to the photoperiod expressed in the form of flowering. If the plant is responding towards the photoperiod and it is been expressed in the form of flowering, that means if the plant is flowering according to the photoperiod, that is called photoperiodism. And what is photoperiod? The plants, in order to flower, requires a certain day length, that is the relative length of day and night is called photoperiod. The relative length of day and night is called photoperiod, and this photoperiod is very important in the case of plant growth because it is helping in flowering in plants, and that process is called photoperiodism. And here we can see different types of photoperiodism taking place in plants: long day plant, short day plant and intermediate plant as well as day neutral plant. In the case of long day plant, short long day plants are there, and in the case of short day plants, long short day plants are formed there. So that is related to the classification of photoperiodism in plants. Now we can see here, depending upon the duration of photoperiod, plants we can classify into three types. One is the short day plant, long day plant and day neutral plants. In the case of short day plants, we can see the days are shorter than the night. The day length requirement for the flowering in the plant, in the case of short day plant, is day length is less than 12 hours. In the case of long day plants, we can see the days are longer than the night. Here the day length are more than 12 hours. In the case of natural day plant, what is happening? Day length is equal to, that is day length as well as the length of the night is equal there. So that is natural day plant, and these plants they will be flowering in this day duration. In the case of long day plant, long days are needed there for flowering. In the case of short day plants, short days are needed there for flowering. So these are the three types of plants based on the duration of photoperiod, which is helping for flowering in plants. Examples related to photoperiodism. Number one, short day plants. The examples are dahlia, rice, sugarcane, chrysanthemum, etc. In the case of long day plants, wheat, lettuce, cabbage, radish, etc. And in the case of day neutral plants, cucumber, sunflower, tomato, corn, chili, pea, cotton, etc. So the short day plants are dahlia, rice, sugarcane. These needs short days for flowering. In the case of long day plants, wheat, lettuce, cabbage, radish, all these plants they require long days for flowering, and the day neutral plants are cucumber, sunflower, tomato, corn, chili, pea, cotton. These plants they require equal days in the case of length of the day as well as in the case of length of the night will be equal in them, and they require such period for flowering. Now we can see next point, the site for perception of light or dark duration are in the leaf. So the perception of light or dark is duration is taking place in the leaf, and a hormonal substance is responsible for inducing flowering, and there is a hormonal substance present in the leaf which is initiating the flowering, and the name of the hormonal substance is phloregin. Now next topic is vernalization. In some plants, flowering is promoted by its exposure to low temperature. This phenomenon is called vernalization. So what is vernalization? Certain plants require low temperature or chilling treatment for flowering. That process is called vernalization. Example, in winter and spring varieties of food crops, vernalization is needed there. So there are some food crops like wheat, barley, rye, which is having two kinds of varieties, that is winter and spring varieties. The spring varieties are normally planted in the spring season and comes to flower, and it produces grain before the end of the growing season, that is related to the spring variety. But in the case of winter variety, we can see winter varieties are planted in autumn, and if they are planted in the spring, they would normally fail to flower or produce natural grain within a span of flowering season. So they germinate in winter and resume growth in spring and are harvested usually around in the mid-summer. This is how winter plants are there, which will be flowering and producing the grains. Now in case of biennial plants, when subjected to cold treatment, they show photoperiodic flowering responses. Certain biennial plants are there, when these plants will be treated with the chilled treatment or when they are treated with the cold treatment, they will be showing the responses for flowering. Next is related to seed dormancy. The property of failure of seed to germinate even in the presence of optimum condition is called seed dormancy. So what is seed dormancy? It is the failure of the seed to germinate even though if optimum condition is needed there, that is called seed dormancy. Now what are the causes of seed dormancy? The seed dormancy is under endogenous control, that is conditions within the seed itself. The conditions are present there within the seed itself. If the conditions are not favorable there, surely what will happen? Seed dormancy will be taking place there. Next one is impermeable and hard seed coat. If the seed coat is hard and it is impermeable to water, so what will happen? Seed dormancy will be taking place there. Next, presence of chemical inhibitors. Certain chemical inhibitors are present there in the seed which will be inhibiting the seed to germinate. And next one, if the embryo is immature, seed dormancy is taking place. So in the case of impermeability of seed coat, we can see that it is in the natural process, the seed becomes permeable by microbial action. When natural process is taking place, surely the seed dormancy can be broken there. And how it can be broken there? By the microbial action. And artificially the seed coat can be made permeable by mechanical abrasions using knives, sandpaper, etc. Mechanically a cut can be done on the seed so that the dormancy can be broken. And abrasions of seed by shaking them in sand or stone pieces, that is called scarification. Scarification means abrasion of seed by shaking them in stone or sand pieces, or we can say stone pieces. isn't it? So, in this manner, if you are rubbing the seed with the sand or with the stone pieces, surely what will happen? There will be breakage taking place in the seed and the dormancy can be broken there. Next, number 2, presence of chemical inhibitors. The presence of chemical inhibitors such as abscisic acid, phenolic acid and ascorbic acid makes the seed dormant. So, in natural way, germination of seed is achieved after the inhibitors are washed out during rain. So, in nature what is happening there, in natural process, germination of seed is taking place. How it has been taking place? The inhibitors which are present there will be washed away when rain is coming, and these inhibitors will be washed off in that rain. In this manner, the germination of seed is taking place. Next, inhibitory substances can be removed by subjecting the seed to chilling condition. If inhibitory substances are present there artificially, these seeds will be subjected to chilling treatment. If the seeds will be given cold treatment, and because of that treatment, the inhibitory substances will be removed from the seed. Next, application of chemicals like gibberellic acid and nitrate. When gibberellic acid and nitrate is been applied to the seed will be ready to germinate, and in this manner seed dormancy can be broken in the seed. My dear children, I think you would have understood the second part of this chapter. With this, the chapter is over, and I think you would have understood about the chapter very clearly. My dear children, go through the chapter many times. There are many important points in this chapter, and the important technical terms are there. You have to write and study. My dear children, be always happy and work hard, work smart, so that you will be able to achieve the maximum marks in your examination. If you are having any doubt related to this chapter or any other chapter in botany from +1, you can give me a call or you can come directly to me and you can clarify your doubts. My dear children, always be on track and please be serious in your studies as examination is nearing. My dear children, be always healthy, drink lot of water and eat good food. By saying this, I wind the session here and take care.